And this war is being fought unlike any other war the United States has been involved in, right? We had no boots on the ground. We did this incredible air campaign. The air campaign and having the fleet there and taking control of the waterway has had a major economic impact where Iran's collapsing. But they're still able to do money laundering and do some things. And now they're coming in with this economic D-Day to, boom, completely shut what left is down. So, I mean, how long can they stay operating like this? You know, Iran's not like Cuba. The Cubans have been in poverty always. The Iranians they got, you know, big cities. The Iranians have been living a pretty good life and a pretty modern life. You know, they have, well, they're empty now, but they had shopping malls that were fully operational and stocked, much like the shopping malls we have in the United States. You know, they had a very modern, very advanced and well-stocked, I wouldn't say first world, but pretty close to first world country. And so people that are living at a first world level, like the Iranians were living and like we live in the United States now, you go to this kind of collapse and you're not a people that can withstand that. You can't take it. A country today cannot stay in existence, not a country like this, and can be completely cut off from the rest of the world. Their people are accustomed to a certain lifestyle, right? The Iranian people are not used to this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's happening here and what he's talking about is, and this will be how it could very well end for Iran, is they don't have money to pay their people. They just don't have money to pay their people. And if they don't have money to pay their people, how are they going to continue, right? You know, if you're a terror regime, which they are, you need money to pay your military that's terrorizing everyone. So how long can they go without money? Well, we're going to find out, because we're getting to a point where they're already running out of money. The massive inflation over there, they're kind of like in Weimar Republic kind of territory right now, right? Remember that we've all seen that growing up, the wheelbarrows of money to buy a carton of milk and all of that. That's what it's like right now in Iran. And when they can't pay their army to terrorize people, they, you know, those soldiers, they have families, they have wives, they have kids. You know, what are they going to do? And well, we're going to find out, because this is coming to a head. Cuba, like I say, the Cuban people are accustomed to poverty. The Iranian people are not. Okay, and that makes it a big. You know, you take modern luxuries away from first world people. How long can they last? How long can they last? Think about it. You ever been without electricity after a natural disaster here, after a hurricane, a snowstorm or something in the United States, tornadoes? How long is it until people start to get itchy? Can you imagine what it's like there? It's pretty bad. And being completely locked down and isolated. That's the other thing as well. Welcome to the program. My name is Brian. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. We've got a lot to cover. There have been so many assassination attempts on the president and the first family. There was there's been attempts on and plots against 3 of the Trump children now, right? The first one, Iran, a few weeks back, hired a Muslim terrorist. He got arrested in Turkey, who has a history of blowing things up. The Iranians hired him to blow up Ivanka Trump's house in Miami. When he was arrested in Turkey, he had the plans to her Miami home. So that wasn't just an attack on one of President Trump's children. That was an attack on his grandchildren, too. And Jared Kushner. Pretty crazy. There was an assassin arrested a couple weeks back who was plotting against Don Jr. And there's been a lot of these assassination attempts, right, lately. Iran was going to take down Air Force One in Turkey. That's why I had to fly on the old Air Force One. Well, now the Iranians put a $10 million bounty on Barron Trump. And I mean, this is just god-awful, I tell you. And those of you out there that are never-Trumpers, that are Democrats, that are against, at what point are you able to say to yourself, Iran has been committing acts of war, right? This is the second Iranian plot that we know of against children of the president, Ivanka and Barron. The Don Jr. attack was just some deranged liberal, but it was a real plot nevertheless. This is a Newsmax. Iranian media linked to the Revolutionary Guard has escalated its threat against President Trump's family, airing a video on Iranian state TV that tracks the movements of Barron Trump. There's also a report that there's been a $10 million bounty placed by Iran on Barron. The video, reported Sunday, appeared on IRGC-linked media and Iran's state-run Channel 3 and carried the title, and I'm not going to read all of these things because they're just so vulgar and vile and inappropriate, but it's a plot against Barron. The outlet reported claims of a $10 million bounty. The latest follows a threat of an IRGC-linked propaganda campaign against the First Lady. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. There was an Iranian plot recently against Melania. So we have plots by Iran against the president, the First Lady, Barron, and Ivanka. 4 people of the first family. And you guys on the left are still rooting for Iran here? What's the matter with you? In July, there was a similar video put out about Melania. This was in Iran, it encouraged would-be attackers to exploit vulnerabilities. This is Newsmax. The increasingly personal threats are part of a broader Iranian campaign directed at the president since the outbreak of the war. In July, they had a billboard with President Trump in a coffin in Tehran, and many other things. I mean, these are just too vile for me to read some of them, but you get the idea. And, you know, the way that liberals process this, because liberals are sick. I mean, let's face it. You know, your average Democrat is not a normal person when it comes to the thought processes of a human being. And what they would tell themselves is, well, you know, he did bomb them, as if that makes it okay, right? Again, this is not a new war. This is a war that Iran started almost 50 years ago. But say you're blaming, you Trump derangement syndrome suffering lunatics, say you blame President Trump because he bombed them. When have we had plots like this against the children and the First Lady before of a president? I've never seen this before. This is the first time this has ever happened, because there are some things that are off limits, and this is one of them. But you know, the Trump derangement syndrome that Democrats, the liberals, never-Trumpers suffer from, which is vile and sick and twisted and weird and insane, they can't let anything sink inside of them that anything that President Trump has done is anything but wrong. You know, and it's one thing for the president, right, which is bad enough, all right, but the first family, you know, after all these centuries, the United States is 250 years old. We have our 47th president. We've had, not everyone's had a big family, but we've had over 40 first families. We've never had assassination attempts against first families before. This is the first time there's been an assassination attempt against members of the first family. And the Trump derangement syndrome sufferers of the left can't even get their act together enough to say this is a bridge too far. Because nothing's too far for them, because they're twisted. This is the New York Post. Iran broadcasts sickening video claiming Barron Trump is fully monitored and places $10 million bounty on him. Iranian state media broadcast a chilling 3-minute video fantasizing about killing Barron Trump in a disturbing escalation against President Trump and his family. This is New York Post I'm reading from. As Tehran braces for an onslaught of additional crushing economic penalties. That's what I was just talking about. The clip claimed to show the movements of the president's 20-year-old son, claiming he's fully monitored. And they showed all kinds of places. They had graphics, some AI videos, and everything else to go along with it. The video went on to say it uncovered Barron's accounts on Xbox, his video games, his Discord, as well as those of his classmates. They named 2 of his classmates to send a chill down all their spines. In addition to the disturbing video, multiple reports indicated the regime placed a $10 million bounty on Barron Trump. The New York Post could not independently verify the alleged bounty, the claims about his movements or statements of his classmates. This is just the beginning. Wait for us. The Iranian video continues. You know, you really gotta feel for the president and his family. You know, what this first family has sacrificed for the country, you can't even measure it. I mean, they have sacrificed in ways that no one else has. And you know, with this race yesterday, the Freedom 250 race, it was so cool. I really enjoyed that race. That was the first time I'd ever watched a car race from beginning to end, and I liked it. Maybe I'll get into the F1. I don't know. Those drivers didn't look like the F1 drivers. The F1 drivers look like, they don't look real. They look like a boy band. But I really enjoyed that race. And, you know, President Trump brought that to Washington, D.C. It's the second major sporting event that he brought there. The UFC fight at the White House, this. And these are really cool things. And you look at our past presidents, what have they done? Our past presidents do nothing. They sit around, get briefed, and just figure out ways that they can set themselves up when they leave office. They're not concerned about making the country better or doing things for the American people. And you see all these things that President Trump is doing to make the country exciting and great. You know, and of course, he couldn't even go out and give the winner's cup to the winner of the race because of all of these plots against him and the first family by Iran. And then, of course, the Never-Trumpers, too, right? Like the guy at the Correspondents' Dinner, Butler, and all of that. The Trump family are constantly risking their lives. That's why the idiotic liberals who are with their where's Melania talking point. Well, you know, the first family have known about these assassination plots and attempts and everything else long before we have. And the reason you haven't seen Melania around too much is because it's not safe. And I don't blame them for not all going out and about, because it's not safe. And you know what? It never will be, as long as you have all these Iranians and Never-Trumpers out there. Now, those of you that are Medicare recipients, I want to talk about Chapter. You know, right before the podcast, my mother-in-law called. She asked for the phone number of Chapter, which I'm going to give it to you in just a moment. You know, open enrollment for Medicare is going to be here before you know it. You want to pick up that phone, call Chapter. When you call, you'll speak to a licensed Medicare advisor. It costs you nothing, and they're gonna review your policy for free. And I'll tell you what my mother-in-law was doing. She was calling them up to make sure she's got some new doctors. She wants to make sure her doctors are covered on her plan, her prescriptions, her specialist, and you can do just that with Chapter. You know, Chapter, they cover the entire United States. And that benefits you in several ways. One, no matter where you are in the United States listening to me, give Chapter a call, okay? They'll help you. But because they're a national company, they have access to all of the Medicare policies in the United States. There's over 25,000 of them. And they review them all to make sure that you have the best policy for you, making sure that your doctors are covered, your prescriptions are covered, your specialists are covered, your local pharmacy is covered. Make sure that you get all of the benefits you are entitled to. You worked hard and paid money for those Medicare benefits. I'll have mine one day, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to call Chapter when I'm old enough and make sure that I get all the benefits that I'm entitled to. All right, call them right now, 805-754-3033. That's 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033 for Chapter. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian. We'll take a quick break and be back with more and your calls right after this. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, and thanks for joining, okay? Okay, now we were talking about Economic D-Day begins today against Iran, and there's another Economic D-Day going on, and this one's against Canada. And, you know, Carney in Canada, he's got little man syndrome. I don't know how big he is, but his country is a tiny country. They may have more land than the United States, but the Canadian population hovers around, and has for a long time, about 10% of the U.S. population. So it's a tiny country population-wise. And really what Canada is, and I know we've got a lot of Canadians that listen to the program, and you know, maybe you agree with this or maybe you take offense to it, but Canada really is not an independent nation. They're a welfare state of the United States, and they've been living off the United States for a long time, forever. And they've been betraying the United States since the American Revolution. Remember, you know, the 13 original colonies were not the only British colonies in the Americas. Canada was a colony as well. And Canada not only stayed with the Redcoats, But all the traitor loyalists who wanted to stick with the king and the 13 colonies fled to Canada, right? And they've been working against us ever since they didn't have the guts to join the 13 original colonies in the revolution against England. And can you imagine if Canada would have joined the original 13 colonies, they'd be a great country today. And like I say, they're basically a welfare state of the United States. And I was very surprised. They had the Winter Olympics many years ago in Canada. And I was shocked when they announced this. And it's true, and it's still true today. 80%. Now, keep in mind, Canada is a big country land-wise. It's a huge country land-wise. They only have 10% of the population that we have. However, they don't use that land. 80% of the population of Canada live within 150 miles of the United States. Isn't that crazy? 80% of Canadians live within 50 miles of the United States. And that is, that's for one reason and one reason only. They are nothing without us, and they're sucking off of us. On top of that, okay, Canada, they're ripping us off in many other ways. They've been ripping us off with the tariffs for years. They've been overcharging us on tariffs, and our politicians have been selling us out. So the Canadians haven't had to pay proper tariffs on our goods. And what President Trump's policy has been is equal tariffs. Whatever you charge us, we're charging you. And I think that's fair. And Canada, they've been living off of the United States and ripping us off for so long, they don't even know it. They don't pay their NATO dues. They don't pay what they're supposed to pay for the North American Defense Alliance that the United States and Canada have. I think it was J.D. Vance. Was it J.D. Vance said today that if it wasn't for the United States, other countries would have invaded and taken over Canada? No doubt about it. Now, I don't have any beef with Canada, right? Most countries, the people get along with us. It's the governments, right? Now, Doug Ford, let me play this clip. He's the premier, right, of Ontario. Let me pull this up. Now, Doug Ford, isn't he the brother of that crackhead mayor from Toronto that died? Mm-hmm. Here's Premier Doug Ford.
Did you talk about the 25%
About
electricity surtax, bringing that back? Did you talk about bringing the Reagan ad and bringing it back? And if so, what did you say? Well, I did talk about Canada approach, making sure that no matter if it's our electricity that we should ban there, but many other provinces' electricity and other areas that we can really put pain on the U.S.
Oh, really? Going to put pain on the U.S.? We don't need any Canadian electricity. We don't need any Canadian oil. We don't need any Canadian lumber. We don't need anything. And I bet you, even Canada Dry ginger ale, which I personally like, I bet that's made in the United States. I bet we don't even need them for Canada Dry. The arrogance and stupidity, right? They want to make us feel pain? Good luck.
The other provinces' electricity and other areas that we can really put pain on the U.S. No matter if it's the oil or if it's potash or if it's uranium, any of those. I am going to have a call with Danielle Smith at the end of the day here at 4 o'clock, roughly, have a discussion and get her opinion on what we need to do to protect Canadian workers.
Yeah. And can you imagine he wants America to feel pain? There'd be no Canada today if it were not for us. Not only that, not only have they been ripping us off with the trade deals, they've been stealing our industry, right? Not just the auto industry, they've stolen the auto industry. And it was gladly sold to them by corrupt uniparty politicians over the years, but they stole the American auto industry. And I was talking about this on one of my podcasts over the weekend. When my daughter was a little girl, I used to watch How It's Made with my daughter. You guys ever remember that show, How It's Made? And it would show you how things were made in factories, how everything was made. Bowling balls, Cheetos, all this stuff. Whatever you could imagine. And I used to watch that when my daughter was little, and it was a pretty cool show. And then all of a sudden, they had an episode where they went to the factory to show how curling stones were made. Do you know what curling is and curling stones? Let me tell you about curling, okay? And when I saw that they were making curling stones, I realized for the first time that How It's Made is a Canadian show, and all these factories that make everything from footballs and basketballs and whatever else they were making used to be American factories, and they're manufacturing all this stuff to sell to us. They took our factories, they took our production away, they took our industry away, and then they want to sell it to us at a high cost. They got a lot of nerve. But curling, it really shows you how ridiculous Canada is. When I first saw curling at the Olympics, I saw this at the Winter Olympics like maybe 20 years ago or so, and I saw it. It was the Winter Olympics. I honestly thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a parody. I thought some comedians I'm not making this up. I thought some comedians were making fun of the Olympics. It's kind of like curling is to the Winter Olympics what synchronized swimming is to the Summer Olympics. Do they still do synchronized swimming? Right? So they have these round polished stones that they put on ice, and then you stand behind them. You push the stone down the ice, and then you get behind it. Two players get behind it with a broom, like an old-fashioned broom, like a witch would ride, and you sweep the ice behind it to generate heat to make this rock go down the ice. And they turn that into an Olympic sport because of Canada. So anyway, the point of that is when I realized that How It's Made is a Canadian show, I got really pissed off. Because and I know a lot of you have seen that show. It's still online. You can watch it now. They make everything you can imagine. And these were all production facilities and factories that used to manufacture these things in this country. Volleyballs, tennis rackets. They've had episodes on everything. You know, and they've taken, so Canada, they've taken our auto industry. They've taken almost people think everything went to China. A lot of it did, but a lot of it went to Canada. They took our entire manufacturing industry, pretty much everything, and split it, you know, Canada and China. So they stole our manufacturing, stole our auto industry, charges huge tariffs on the products they stole from us. They don't pay their NATO dues. They don't pay their money for the North America Defense Alliance between the United States and Canada. We've been picking all of that up. And they want to make us feel pain? I think they got a lot of nerve. So it's really coming to, and that's just the beginning. I mean, they're terrible to us. So this is in the Daily Mail. Trump announced plans today for a 50% tariff on Canadian cars, trucks, automotive parts, and steel, escalating his trade war with Mark Carney. And he posted on X. Let me pull this up. Hold on, I just saw this. Here it is. I'm not on X, on Truth. President Trump posted this on Truth Social. Lots of bluster from Doug Ford, who was the premier of the Canadian province of Ontario, but who is better known as the less charismatic, intelligent, and overall unimpressive brother of the late, great Rob Ford. Rob Ford was the one that had the drug problem. He was a Republican MAGA guy, Rob Ford. America has been carrying Canada for decades, but no longer. Yeah, you know, between all the ripping off of everything they've been doing with the tariffs, with not paying their dues for the defense and all that stuff, the United States, we're funding Canada. We pay for their universal healthcare system that they brag about all the time. Well, yeah, we'd have one too if we had another country that would finance a national healthcare system for us, like Canada has with us financing theirs, we'd do it. You know, they have to pay Commonwealth dues to the King of England every year. We pay that too. So President Trump, he says, America has been carrying Canada for decades, but no longer. The USA will always be far bigger, richer, and stronger than Canada. Without the United States, Canada couldn't survive. It's where they get all their money, and because of their current bad leadership, primarily Governor Carney and his flunky Ford, They will not be allowed to keep taking advantage of the United States. They're key to survival. Remember, much of the electricity, oil, and gas that Canada gets is transported through the USA. Someone should get these clowns to fall in line, or the consequences for Canada will be far worse. This is President Trump on True Social today. Canada's unemployment rate is now at 10% and rapidly rising. Their businesses are fleeing for the United States, and it's all because of their failed policies and inept leadership. The days of ripping off our farmers and other businesses are over. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And, Carney's got something to prove. He's trying to act like he's the big man on campus, and he's going to take his country down the tubes because Canada cannot survive without the United States. And we don't want to hurt Canada. We don't like Iran, okay? But we have no beef with Canada. The Americans, we love Canada and Canadians. But your government's messed up. You've had a bunch of weirdos running your country for a long time, and we're tired of them ripping us off. And, I know a lot of Canadians have this just insane, stupid saying, Canada's not for sale. Canada's not for sale. We don't want to buy Canada. Greenland, yes. Canada, no. Why would we want it? And we really don't want any of the Canadian provinces to become states, because if they become states, they get 2 senators and a whole bunch of House members. And we don't want these people that have been raised under the socialism of this failed system in Canada to be voting in our country. So we don't want to buy you. We don't want you to become a part of the United States. We just want you to start treating us fairly instead of ripping us off. That's it. They don't even, the Canadian government doesn't even treat their own people well. Remember a couple years back when the truckers got together and they were arresting the truckers, and they were arresting people that were putting things up on social media that they didn't like? Just because they have an accent that's almost like ours, almost, right? And we do have some connections from the original colonies and all that. They don't have what we have. They don't have a constitution with a Bill of Rights. They don't have freedom of speech or anything. Okay, they're tyrants. That's why Canadians. You know where Canadians like to go on vacation? What is what the number one vacation destination for Canadians is? Do you know what it is? What do you think? It's not Florida. It's Cuba. They love Cuba. They've been keeping Cuba alive for a long, long time. Well, the chickens are coming home, man, to roost, right? And Jesse Jackson said that. Let's see here. Trump accused America's neighbor of putting ridiculously high tariffs on U.S. farmers, saying they'd made life impossible for these great American patriots. Trade talks collapsed. This is the Daily Mail. Trade talks collapsed last week, and tariffs on roughly $20 billion in Canadian goods took effect Saturday, hitting products including agricultural supplies, dairy, alcohol, clothing, and electronics. Carney vowed Saturday to hit back, accusing Washington of adding language in the final hours that would have restricted Canada's ability to make trade deals with other countries. Canada's trying to be all butch. What juice do they have to use against us? They have no pull against us, or as President Trump says, they have no cards to play. The Canadian Prime Minister said in an address to the nation that Trump's demand was unacceptable and a question of sovereignty. You're at war when you're attacked, and we got attacked, Carney said. What? Carney's saying that Canada's at war? U.S. and Canadian officials negotiated for roughly a month before the agreement, which both sides said was close. Trump had extended the negotiating window on August 19th, and it goes on, and it's falling apart here. Let me pull up Carney. Well, let me see what Carney has to say. Hold on a second here. See what this guy has to say. He's really making a mistake, but he wants to, he could make a good deal with the United States, Carney, but he wants to act like he's some sovereign, independent guy, right? You know, I think what we should do, we should stop Canadians from being able to come into the United States for work. How about that? You know, why do you think 80% of Canadians live within 150 miles of the US northern border? Because not only do they do business with Americans, a lot of them work here. We should cut them off. Maybe we need to have a northern wall. We got the southern border wall. Maybe we need a northern border wall because it's being abused by these. It's really a sad thing because, you know, I know Canadians. I've known Canadians my whole life. You can't live in Florida and not know Canadians. And most of the Canadian people I talk to, including many that listen to this program, you know, outside of the United States, obviously most people that watch and listen to me are in the United States because I'm in the United States. But the country that we have the second most that listen to the program is Canada. And I talk to Canadians here in Florida or who call me on the program here. And most Canadians think like we do. They love Trump. They want to make Canada great again. But the system that they have, this parliamentary system, it's impossible. The people have no voice in Canada. It's a corrupt system, like in the UK. You know, this type of system they have, the people really aren't. They don't have a voice in the government. It's like the old days of a monarchy, and people in Canada literally are slaves. They really are, and it's sad. I want to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover, and I am certainly going to cover quite a bit. My name is Brian. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Hi, Tom Laporta here. We are Laporta Roofing, a family business since 1983. You are our customer. In other words, our boss. We are here for and because of you, not the other way around. The 2026 rainy season is upon us. Because we haven't had a hurricane in 2 years, all the storm chaser roofing companies have gone out of business, leaving all of the strongest and the best contractors. At Laporta Roofing, we will never sell you a roof you don't need. We don't have salesmen or commissions, so we will never pressure you to sign a contract. Also, deposits are not required. At Laporta Roofing, you will always come first. We must earn your trust, and we will. So call me on my cell at 954-604-4602 or find us on the web at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, or on the web at laportaroofing.com.
What if you could understand the Bible as one complete story? From creation to Jesus to the fulfillment of end times prophecy. Now you can with engaging, eye-opening Bible study live streams where scripture comes together in a clear, easy-to-follow way that will deepen your understanding of God's Word. Discover how the events unfolded in today's world fit into the bigger picture God revealed throughout the Bible. Explore biblical prophecy and what it says about the future. Compare God's truth with Satan's deception. Examine the evidence for creation versus evolution and gain fresh insight into the people, places, and promises found throughout Scripture. Whether you're new to Bible study or have been reading the Bible your entire life, these live streams will help you connect the dots, strengthen your faith, and better understand the times we're living in. Don't miss this opportunity to grow in your knowledge of God's Word. Join these life-changing Bible study live streams right now. Find the link in the description of this episode. Share the link on all your social media so your friends can join in too. Again, the link is in the description of this episode. Look in the description and click it right now. Dreaming of South Africa? Experience breathtaking safaris, Cape Town, the Cape Winelands, the Garden Route, and some of Africa's most unforgettable destinations with Grand Crest Travel. From luxury accommodation and private tours to airport transfers, safaris, and complete tailor-made holidays. Grand Crest Travel's South African travel experts take care of your journey from arrival to departure. Visit grandcresttravel.co.za. That's grandcresttravel.co.za and discover South Africa with the people who know it best.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Thanks for joining. Make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you are listening. You know, J.D. Vance, A lot of people out there, they're saying things like, oh, he's on the outs with Trump. You don't see him together. I don't think that's true at all. I think there's two reasons you don't see them together. Number one, all these assassination attempts. They don't want the two of them together. They were both together at an assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? And that may have been the first assassination attempt on a vice president since the night Lincoln was killed. The vice president was a target, although the assassin chickened out. But he's not on the outs. They just don't have them together too much because you never know when a never-Trumper or an Iranian is going to have another assassination attempt. So that's the main reason you don't see them together too much. Not that he's on the outs with Trump. The other reason is, if you noticed, he's been on the campaign trail a lot. And you know why he's on the campaign trail? A couple reasons. One, he's trying to get MAGA Republicans elected, and he's preparing for a presidential run. And the president has him out there preparing, right? I mean, he's the political apprentice. And that's the way it goes. So he was speaking today about a few things. Okay, yeah, and I know a lot of people out there, she's a rhino. We're not in a position to, we're not going to support someone because they're a rhino. We're just not. Maine is very liberal. I don't get it, okay? A lot of these places that are so liberal, I don't get it. But it's very liberal, and if you're a MAGA conservative Republican, you just can't get elected statewide. It's just the way it is. So, and we in the Senate, it's so difficult in the Senate. And Susan Collins, I would rather have a MAGA Republican senator than a rhino, no doubt about it. But she counts towards our majority, and we need every registered Republican to count for our majority as we can possibly get. So it's one of those things you got to just look past and get over it. You got to choose your battles and say, she's a rhino. We can't. Yeah, it's important. We need the numbers, right? The margins are too thin in the Senate. But the other thing that he's doing, JD, other than campaigning for all these people, is he's all over the country, people getting used to him, and he's also these are like little mini rallies he's doing, like President Trump, and people around the country when he's campaigning are getting to know him. So it's kind of he started his presidential run, basically, is what's happened here. And I think he's been doing pretty well. And I think he looks great. I think he sounds great. I think he's been very well received. And it's important because if you remember, a couple years ago, we thought that the second MAGA president was going to be my governor here in Florida, Ron DeSantis. And remember what happened to him on the campaign trail? People didn't like him. He was weird and didn't get along well with people. And I got to tell you, when we did a campaign event, when he was running for re-election as governor at Wings Plus, and he seemed a little different to me too. It was He didn't talk to the people. I saw him talk to one girl who was in a wheelchair, which was nice. But other than that, I didn't see him talk to anyone other than media people. I didn't see him talk to anyone. And this was an official fundraiser that Ron DeSantis' campaign had. It was at Wings Plus in Coral Springs. And of course, I got in because, you know, I'm an important member of the media, as Rush used to say about himself. But because I'm friends with him over there, and I was invited, and I got some of my friends in that showed up there. People were paying a lot of money to be inside there. It was a fundraiser for Ron DeSantis. And some of those people paid a lot of money to go in there to be with Ron, and he didn't talk to any of them. And I thought that was a little strange. But I didn't think too much of it until I saw Ron DeSantis and the reaction he was getting from people when he was running for president, when he betrayed Trump, was running for president in Iowa. And people were talking about how he didn't talk to them, he only talked to donors, and how awkward he was and all that stuff. And he just crashed and burned. Well, DeSantis, he's doing a lot of auditioning, and J.D. Vance, he's doing a lot of auditioning, traveling around the country, and he's doing incredibly well. And everywhere he goes, he hits a home run. There's always a great soundbite. The people love him, and that's good. So he's going to be the guy. Now, we got a new poll from CNN that I want to share. Listen. This is for white people that didn't go to college. You know, they really love at CNN to separate people that went to college and people that didn't go to college. And their arrogance, they think people that went to college are smarter somehow or more enlightened than people that didn't. I think the opposite is true. Some of the dumbest people in America are people with advanced college degrees. Wow. Wow. Yeah. So, and that's, you know, 2012 is not that long ago. 2012, Obama had just been, was reelected, right? And let's see here. He was running for reelection. Oh, no. He had just been reelected. He ran, it was 2011 was the campaign. So look at that. 2012 wasn't that long ago. Seems like, but when you look at it, 2012, 2026, but it wasn't that long ago. And they've lost, the Democrats have lost white people that didn't go to college. They've been magnetized, red-pilled. And the problem with the Democrats, they haven't just lost white people that didn't go to college. They've lost so many people in their key demo that are around the country. They're just no longer a political party. That's why I'm telling you, when the Save America Act is passed in January by the new Congress, okay, and signed into law by the president, the next few election cycles, we're going to start seeing a major decline of Democrats holding office. Not all Democrats, but a lot of them. They're incredibly overrepresented. And the Democrat Party, I think what we'll find out, if the Save America Act, when it's fully in place, and we get through a few election cycles, because it's going to take some time, there'll be an immediate hit. But every election, there's going to be another hit. And what we're going to find, I believe, is that the Democrat Party has about as much support as a lot of these third parties, like the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. In fact, the Green Party, I remember in 2000, if you remember during the Bush-Gore race in 2000, the Green Party, Al Gore or Ralph Nader was the Green Party candidate. He got 80,000 votes in the state of Florida in 2000, remember? And the Al Gore Democrats, they wanted to count those 80,000 for Al Gore because they're liberals. They wouldn't want Bush. But I bet you the Democrat Party has shrunk so much and alienated so many that they may very well have about as many people as the Green Party. All right, now if you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free and pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Andy from New York City.
Hey, Andy.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
Nothing. Is there a certain topic for today?
Well, we'll see. What do you got?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You were talking about the America bill, something.
The Save America Act.
Yeah. What does that have to do with exactly?
Are
Save
you?
America
Let me
Act?
ask you. Are you new to my program?
Fairly, yeah.
What's fairly? Like how long have you?
Like I've seen you like 3-4 times.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not up to speed. The Save America Act is the bill that President Trump is trying to get passed that requires proof of citizenship to register to vote, and you have to show government-issued photo ID to vote. That's what the Save America Act is.
Well, that might be Trump's single-handed best bill he's ever passed.
It
that
absolutely
truly would save America.
Oh, yeah, it would. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it goes through. Do you know another thing I want to ask you? So with the Save America Act, right? Would you, if that passes, would you still be America first or Israel first?
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
See, I know you think you're walking me down some garden path and you're exposing me.
No, you know how you refuse to say America first, right? Even
No,
though you weren't.
I don't refuse to say that. I don't refuse to say. I'm wearing a hat.
You refuse to say that.
I am wearing a hat that says
"Great,
Make America Great Again." That it doesn't get more America first than that.
So why don't you say it?
There's a couple reasons I don't say it. Number one,
because people who endorse you will take it out, or I'll let you explain. You tell your
people who
viewers.
endorse me. Who endorses me?
I don't know. Those people, down in Florida.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a couple reasons why I don't say it. One, I am not some trained seal or a parrot or a trained monkey in a zoo that says what some lunatic who calls me on the show wants me to say. That's number one.
So your viewers are lunatics, okay? All right.
Well, yeah,
Next.
you're a lunatic. Yes, I'm calling you a lunatic.
I'm a lunatic because
Yes.
I say America first over Israel.
No, you called me last week unhinged. You're obviously on your meds now, or you've sobered up.
I think you are mixing
This is
people
this
up.
is no. This is
I've
the
never
third
called
time.
you.
This is the third time you've called me.
This is the third time I've watched your show, correct?
And the third time you've called. You called twice in a row the first day, and I told you it's one call per show, and this is the third time.
And you lied and you said you were on the air, remember? But you weren't on the air, just like you lied about being America first because you're Israel first.
No.
And you refused to say so.
Oh, okay. So so you just confessed.
All your viewers are watching you squirm right now.
I'm not squirming.
Oh, he's sweating bullets, guys. Oh,
See what I mean?
geez.
See what I mean? The meds are
What's
wearing
he
off.
gonna
Hey, listen,
say
I appreciate
now?
the call. I'm not going to talk to a crazy person. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Remember, he called me. Remember, the reason I remember him, because you hear how he was at the end? I may not remember all the callers, but I remember him because he's so crazy. Remember, you hear how he devolved there at the end of the call? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Sean from Massachusetts.
Hey, Sean, what's up?
How you doing, Brian?
All right.
Well, I don't know what's going on with some people in this country. The mental hospitals must be doing an early release. But some of these, just by evidence of some of these calls that you've been getting, I've been sitting back a little bit, listening to a couple of these people, really deep. You got
The Democrats are devolving. They call the Democrats that I hear from are really lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever had it, honestly. And I think this is great, though, what J.D. Vance is doing. I think this is it. We need everything we can get. This is how we have to play this game. This is it, and this is how we win. Because once we get everything set, like you said, a few election cycles, things are going to change, and when he's going to pass the act, and everything will be, where we need it to be.
Indeed.
People just have to be patient too. I'm not sure if you heard. You follow Laura Loomer a lot. I saw something that somebody posted. I'm not sure if this is true, but she was reporting, and her reports are pretty accurate.
Yes, they are.
That there was that in the mosques in this country, that a lot of them are hiding weapons
yes.
to use.
I saw that. She said that today, I think, and I saw that on X today. She said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there going to be a follow up to? I wanted to. I couldn't believe.
Well, this is what I always tell people about Laura Loomer. Okay, she's always right, and when she reports something, she has sources that give her that information. She has a 100% accuracy rate. So anytime anytime Laura Loomer reports something, you can take it as the gospel. She is always right.
Yeah. It's amazing. Amazing how with her, everything follows suit right afterwards. I mean, she'll be ahead of the story, and then all of a sudden it'll all come out like days later from every other source, like those so-called news sources or any other people sites or anything. Because and you are right. She is right on the target.
I remember there was one time I can't believe that's true that she said, and I told her, I said, I will never question you again, and she is always right, always. Yeah,
I mean, we're lucky to have her or somebody like that to help us. We have a lot of great MAGA representatives, but she definitely stands out strong.
But if you look at what's going on with Ahmed, and see, with these Democrat socialists and the Muslims, they read the room wrong, okay? They got it in their head that because Mamdani won in New York, that the country was ready for Democrat socialist Muslims. And there were so many weird things going on in New York. Mamdani got lucky, okay? Got very lucky, and Americans are not ready for this. And Ahmed in Michigan, a lot of terrible things have come out about him. I've gone through them a few times on the program. One, his dad is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a terrorist organization. And his mother worked for a charity that was funding Osama bin Laden. Before and after 9/11, she worked for them until 2004. There's other things too, but those are two big ones. I'll give it, okay, if his, Ahmed's mother worked for a charity that was funding bin Laden, that's like 2 steps of separation from bin Laden. Right? Or is it 3? Whatever. Is it 2, 3? I don't know. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. His mother
it's closer.
And bin Laden. So I think it's 2. I mean, that 2 degrees of separation is not a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we hear about these charities and these foundations, that's close enough. That's very close. And it usually gets somebody, it puts a mark on them when they're that close. And an average, it's 2 or 3 steps, but it's 2 or 3 steps too close. And I mean, like you said, like the Mamdani effect did not take hold. It did not work in so many places. We're seeing it around the country now because it's this experiment that they're trying. It's never worked before in history. It is failing, and it should be a shock that it is because it's never worked anywhere.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say that it's failed, or have we just slowed him down?
Yeah. Well, right? I mean, it's not looking too good for them. I mean that whole thing with that Blue Schools thing, that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I couldn't even believe that was real. It had to be, a parody or something. It sadly wasn't. And this is so pathetic. These people are this desperate now. This is where it's going because they're trying to sell themselves so hard now because the mask has been lifted off. Everybody sees it now.
Well,
that's why they're going this road.
The American people are hard-working people. There has never been a time in my life where I've had only one job. I've always done more than one thing at the same time. Most people are that way. Most Americans enjoy working, and we don't have a lot of tolerance for these Democrat socialists who want to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's just it. This is just what they've been doing in the schools and everything. You know, there's a lot of you know, and it was at Florida. You know, what they're doing with the schools. And I think that's great. What's happening? They're going to start teaching and stuff. And I think
yeah, I was talking about that this morning. Ron DeSantis has made it a mandatory part of Florida school curriculum to learn, and it starts in elementary school, goes all the way through 12th grade, learning the true history of communism. Hey, listen, I got to run, but I appreciate the call. All right.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, you take care. Take care. Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, please do. The number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back.
Some crimes make headlines, others leave behind questions that take years to answer. Crime Explained on YouTube takes you inside real cases with clear factual storytelling. On Crime Explained, there's no hype, no filler, just the facts. From shocking murders and mysterious disappearances to body cam footage, cold cases, criminal psychology, investigations, and courtroom verdicts. Crime Explained on YouTube takes you step by step through what happened, what investigators uncovered, and how each of those cases unfolded. Many cases are ripped right from the headlines, like the Luigi Mangione trial, along with new true crime documentaries and case breakdowns. If you're fascinated by true crime and want responsible storytelling focused on real cases, real facts, and clear explanations, subscribe to Crime Explained on YouTube. Search Crime Explained 2026. That's Crime Explained 2026 on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. Crime Explained. Real cases, facts explained. How would you like to launch your very own cleaning business and start looking for your first paying client in just 24 hours? You can do it. You just need the right help and guidance. And that's what you will find in First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system. This must-read, beginner-friendly guide eliminates all the guesswork and gives you a step-by-step plan for building a profitable residential cleaning service, even if you have no business experience, no employees, and less than $75 for supplies. You'll receive the complete guide, a profitable quote calculator, client communication scripts, marketing tips you can edit, a cleaning checklist, a service agreement, and a walkthrough as well as pricing workbook. There's no expensive website, no commercial equipment, no complicated business plan. Just a simple system designed to help you find local customers, price your services confidently, and build towards consistent monthly income. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Your first client could be closer than you think. Order First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system right now. The link to purchase the book is in the description of this episode. Go to the description and click the link right now. First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system. The link is in the description. Click it right now. Do you own a business? There's a new way to get your offers in front of more customers for free at deals.dreamellison.com. Deals.dreamellison.com is a company proudly owned by a service-disabled veteran, and for a limited time, business owners and service providers can post up to 2 deals absolutely free. At deals.dreamellison.com, you can promote a discount, special offers, new services, or limited time promotions to give customers another reason to choose you and your business. And when you visit deals.dreamellison.com, make sure to preview other sites before they launch. An event site and services marketplace. These are platforms created for business owners at affordable prices. They also believe in giving back, and that's why deals.dreamellison.com regularly supports community outreach and is planning to sponsor several public school PTAs this month. If you know a PTA that deserves support, send them your recommendations. What are you waiting for? Start promoting your business right now. Visit deals.dreamellison.com. That's deals.dreamellison.com. 2 deals free for a limited time. Deals.dreamellison.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. And make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Those of you that are watching live on YouTube, please like the video if you don't mind. That would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, so JD, he was really on fire today. Listen. Yeah. They were taking up the rental price. One thing I've noticed in my neighborhood, this is one thing that really bugs me, is when there's like in front of a house, there's like 12 cars in front of a house. And the reason that is a lot of times is the adult kids either don't move out or they move back in. And I get it. When I moved out on my own, when I was younger, when I first moved out of the house, there was a time or two I came back home between apartments and things like this because, I was struggling. That's what it's like when you're young. You struggle. It's part of it. But I'm seeing less of that now because, and he is right. Rents are going down. Rents, it's supply and demand. If you own a rental property, you're going to charge as much as you can. Here's another one, JD. I mean, I am really impressed with JD. I really am. I know we all love Marco and he's our favorite, but skipping the vice president could be risky, right? It could cause a lot of problems. He's talking about Canada, of course. Okay, so the reason I played that clip, what he said in the beginning is they're not spending money on their military. And the reason they're not is because we're protecting them. And you notice there's a pattern with this, right? Margaret in the live chat said, first time here, Brian, I'm enjoying the show. Yep, plenty of liberal fools to go along in the chat with. Yeah, it's true. A lot of liberals do follow me in the chats. Do you hear what he said, though, right? They neglect their military because we're protecting them. And there's a common pattern with this, right? The NATO countries in Europe don't have functioning militaries. They just don't. Right? Remember that story that I reported on, that there's more admirals than there are ships in the British Navy today? They don't have air forces. They don't have standing armies in Europe either. Very small militaries, very tiny, because we've been footing the bill. And, for any country, even our country, the military, as rich as we are, the military is a huge expense. In fact, in many countries, defense is the largest part of the federal budget. And these other countries, they always say, oh, we should have, they don't call it socialized health care in this country because it's dirty words. They like to call it, they either say, the new in vogue thing that they say is Medicare for all. That's socialized medicine. Medicare for all. That's socialized health care. Sometimes they say single payer, but they've morphed into Medicare for all. And the reason that the socialized healthcare system works in Europe and in Canada is because they don't have the expense of a government, of a military that we have, like our government does, right? And they've neglected their military because they can get away with it, and that's how they fund their healthcare system. That's just the way it works. This is Scott Jennings. We haven't gotten the pick yet on who's going to replace Caroline Leavitt, and the more it goes on, it seems less that it's going to be Scott Jennings. And he's grown this beard. I don't know what the beard is all about. He does look like he's getting into the Botox and Juvederm and all that business too. But here he is. He's talking about Hassan Piker. This is Scott Jennings on CNN. Yep. Where'd she get that info? Yeah, Hassan Piker, he's a vile guy. I mean, there's no getting around it. He's a vile guy. He's angry. He's an American barely by birth because he was born here, but he was raised in Turkey, and he came back to the United States for college, and he hates this country. And I saw that. I'm not going to play it here. It's so vile. I saw that thing he did on stage with Charlie Kirk, some of it. I couldn't stomach all of it. That's one of the most twisted things I've ever seen. It really is. And, you know, what that takes is hatred. Hatred for the country, for Charlie, for really, really anyone who's an American. And what Hassan Piker is he's very wealthy. He's a very well-funded person. And the reason he's funded so well is because they have him on a mission to bring down this country. You know, a lot of people talk about the speculation whether or not Tucker and others are paid by foreign governments. There's no doubt that there's major foreign influence going on inside the Democrat Party through Hassan Piker. And we've seen it, not just his ugliness and the crazy things and inappropriate things he said and done, but you see that these Democrats climbing over each other to get to him, to try to get him to speak at their event, get an endorsement from him, be a guest on his live stream. I've never seen, I mean, the way the Democrats treat Hassan Piker is like conservative Republicans used to be with Rush, right? Rush Limbaugh. And those days are over. Now, if you're new to the program, and when I say days over, you notice what they're doing with Hassan Piker is they're working to distance themselves from him. They don't want anything to do with Hassan Piker now. They do, but they want to act like they don't. And he has a lot of influence. He does. And there's a lot, you know, he was on stage the other day, and he was saying that America didn't deserve 9/11. He's trying to rehabilitate himself. And let me see if I've got that. I might have that clip. Because I was thinking about playing. Let's see if I got it. He got booed by the crowd because he said America didn't deserve 9/11. Not sure I've got the clip. I'm not big into playing Hassan Piker clips because he's just so vile. If I don't have it now, maybe I'll play it on the show tomorrow morning. I'll look for it and play it on the show tomorrow morning. And he got booed when, you know, and then the guy that was on stage with him said he's trying to rehab his image. It's done. The damage is done. There's certain things that you say you can't take back. And you know what's happened with Hassan Piker is the things he's been saying for years, by the way. These things that have come out about Hassan Piker, they're not new. These are things he's been saying for years. But when he was in his bubble, nobody noticed. And now when he kind of went mainstream, at least the mainstream American people got wind of him, it's a whole nother thing when you're talking to your bubble of sycophants as opposed to when you go mainstream. And what's happened with that is that Hassan Piker, rightly so and deservedly, has become one of the faces of the Democrat Party. And there's no getting around that. If you're new to the program, welcome. Make sure that you subscribe, guys, all right? And, you know, I'm live every morning of the week, not just Monday through Friday. I'm also live in the mornings on the weekends. I'm here most afternoons during the week as well, and you never know when I'll pop up on a live stream. So make sure that you subscribe if you're new. And everyone watching on YouTube, please do me the favor of liking the video. Now, I want to talk to you guys about chapter. I mentioned earlier in the show, my mother-in-law called right before the program. She was asking for the number of chapter. I didn't realize, I mean, we're just a few days away from September, and October is open enrollment period. And my mother-in-law called. She called chapter right before the podcast today, and she got back to us and called my wife, her daughter, And she went over with the licensed Medicare advisor that answered the phone. She answered all the questions. She ran everything for her, and she's getting all set up for open enrollment period. So it's not too early to call. Even though open enrollment is not here yet, it's time to pick up that phone, call Chapter, make contact with them, tell them what your situation is. You know, Medicare is a tricky thing. And a cool thing about Chapter is this. Because they're a national company and have access to all of the different Medicare policies out there, they're not hooked up with a single company. Most places that you go to for any type of health insurance, but Medicare as well, they're connected to one or two companies. Chapter, they're nationwide, so they have access to all the companies. So when you call Chapter, it costs you nothing. You'll speak to a licensed Medicare advisor, and they're going to look over all the different companies to find the policy that's right for you. And if you have a supplement, they'll make sure that you're not paying too much for that. Give them a call, 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. That's 805-754-3033 for Chapter. We'll be right back.
Hi, Tom Laporta here. We are Laporta Roofing, a family business since 1983. You are our customer. In other words, our boss. We are here for and because of you, not the other way around. The 2026 rainy season is upon us. Because we haven't had a hurricane in 2 years, all the storm chaser roofing companies have gone out of business, leaving only the strongest and the best contractors. At Laporta Roofing, we will never sell you a roof you don't need. We don't have salesmen or commissions.
Now listen, those of you guys watching on the live stream with the green screen behind me, if you want to see and hear all the audio and video, you got to go to my main stream here on YouTube, okay? And you can see and hear all the audio and video I play.
954-604-4602, or find us on the web at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, or on the web at laportaroofing.com.
On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking to Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great they are. And Jupiter is like, client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing? So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
All right, we're back. Now, on Friday's podcast, if you caught that, I was talking about this woman that killed her 3 children. She's on trial for murder in Massachusetts, and she has this whole cult of women that are saying she should get away with the murder of her 3 children because she had postpartum depression. And I was telling you that if I were married to one of these women and I had children, especially young children, like kids, I'd want to get out of that marriage because your children would not be safe. I mean, I just am in shock at the support. Well, here's an attorney who actually is having an experience with this. Listen. Yeah, about this chance. You know, liberals are all insane, all right? And maybe they always were, but to me, liberals seem more unhinged than ever before, right? Liberals have always been wrong about the issues, and they've always had their crazies. But the crazies have, I think, become more mainstream in the Democrat Party than they used to. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems that way to me. And this whole thing about this Clancy woman that we're seeing from these liberal women in the Northeast. Women throughout the Northeast are traveling to Massachusetts to be at the trial and everything else. The TikTok is just filled with videos. I played some clips on that episode. If you missed the podcast, it's on YouTube. In the thumbnail, it has Candace Owens, who's defending her. And Candace defending her was very disturbing because Candace Owens is like 8 months pregnant, right? 8 months pregnant. And she's defending this baby killer, killed 3 kids. And what's so frightening with all the liberals, you hear the ones I talk to on the phones, you see these women defending her. Liberals are more unhinged than ever before. And the reason that is many, but I think the main reason that liberals are so unhinged is because they're not in power. And what liberals want more than anything is control over the lives of people. And they don't have that anymore. That's it. And they don't see a path of coming back. Everything that the radical libs have advocated for and stood up for have been rejected by the American people. And they're losing their minds over it. All right, let's take some more calls. Let's see what we got. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Wilson, calling from Virginia.
Wilson, okay. Like Tom Hanks volleyball.
Yes, I've gotten that one.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've heard that too many times. Oh, my goodness. Where are you calling from? Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, Wilson is a big name in Virginia because that's where the one of the presidents that was a member of the Ku Klux Klan is from. Woodrow Wilson, right?
Is Woodrow from here?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson's from Virginia, yeah. And he was in the Klan.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Yeah, anyway, what's on your mind?
That was the thing to do in the 20s. No, I was just kind of curious because you were saying that, like, all liberals are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yes.
I'm a leftist, so I don't cotton much with the sort of centrist Democrat liberal consensus, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you say you're a leftist. What does that mean? What makes you different than a typical liberal Democrat?
Well, I don't believe in, say, like a meritocracy, like the way they.
A meritocracy. What does that mean? Define or illustrate what a meritocracy that you're referencing is. What does that mean?
So they would think that typically that, like, you know, if you go to a high-end college, like an Ivy League, you know, if you go to Harvard and if you really apply yourself, get a job at the CIA or something, like, you deserve to be governor or whatever.
Yeah, people, I do believe that people that work for the CIA or any intelligence agency should be forbidden from elected office. They should not be holding elected office.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, in the afternoons, when I'm not on the radio, you can say those things. I don't say them.
Okay.
When I'm on the radio in the morning, I can't allow it, but here it's okay.
Well, see, there's a point of commonality.
But so I'm trying to say, what you say you're a leftist, not a liberal Democrat. I'm trying to figure, what are you, one of these Democrat socialists? What are you?
I'd probably say a communist. Rather than a democratic socialist.
Are you pulling my leg?
No.
You really feel that you're a communist? Do you really mean that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? Like, what are some of the communist beliefs that you hold?
I believe that industry, like, you know, hard, like, productive industry, or what do they call it? Not exploitative, extraction-based industry.
Let me ask you: Do you live on your own? Do you live with your family? Do you have a house? Do you have an apartment? Like, what's your living situation? Are you married?
but-
You live alone? What's your living situation?
I have an apartment. I pay about 45% of my income to just fucking
Really?
pay rent.
How much is the rent?
Yeah.
How much is the rent?
It's just a little south of $1,300 a month.
Okay, that's not that bad actually.
I mean, it's a great location.
How old
but
are
it
you?
still is-
How old are you?
I'm in my mid-30s.
30s. Are you married?
No, sir.
Well, that's the problem. You know, when I was in my 30s, I was married, so I got my wife, and you have two incomes. You know what I mean? And see what happened is a lot of people of your generation have rejected companionship with the opposite sex, and it is unless you're born into wealth or very, very lucky, it's difficult starting out in life single financially. Right? It takes two.
Yeah.
And that's why your generation. But the reason I ask is you say you're a communist. How many people from the community do you let come and stay and live in your apartment, or is it just you?
I assume you're making the private property argument.
Well,
here,
you're all into businesses and other people's property being part of the, commune, but your own apartment where you live, your own domain, your own little castle there, you don't want that to be shared. You want that to be your fortress of solitude.
I wouldn't say I'm that nerdy, but
Really? No, you let people stay with you for free and eat your food and use your toilet?
I 100% would.
Do. Is your house open to anybody that needs a shower on the streets of Virginia? Do you lock your door when you leave? Can they come in and use your gaming computer when you're not using it?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think also,
do you wonder how I know? Did it occur to you that I know that? How did I know you have a gaming computer? Which you just acknowledged you did.
I don't have.
Now you're walking it back. I asked if they could. I asked if they could come in and use your gaming computer, and you said you'd be open to that. That means you have a gaming computer.
If I have one, sure.
Okay.
But no, I think what there's a common misconception, or sometimes it's a willful construction of what Marx means about private property. Like, Karl Marx was not opposed to people owning their own houses, like owning their own stuff.
Yeah. Karl Marx lived in the world of theory. Okay, when we saw communism actually get out of the world of
he lived as a real person.
Hold on,
too.
no, hold on. Karl Marx saw communism from the world of academia. We've seen it applied in real life. The Soviet Union, Cuba, a bunch of places
Was he an
in South
academic?
America. Well, yeah. Yeah, he wrote the whole book.
Yeah?
He wrote the book on it, right? So he's a thinker.
Writing a book makes you.
It makes you a thinker.
Academic.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
makes you a thinker. As opposed,
Yeah, he was also
when you're writing about something in the abstract as opposed to actually living it. Karl Marx didn't live under communism.
Sure, no one has.
No, yeah, sure. Soviet Union, Cuba, and everywhere. What has happened to every communist system in the world that's ever existed?
See, this is one of those rhetorical things.
It's
where
failed.
I think it's
Failed. Really, so why is communism
really
failed everywhere? Why is it failed everywhere? Everywhere.
Because the United States' insistence on it during the Cold War. I mean, can you imagine? Cuba has managed to exist for almost 70 years.
But the Soviet Union collapsed.
Sanctions.
Why did the Soviet Union collapse?
Because of our influence.
Because of us.
Three-alarm fire
Okay, so communism. The
world.
reason communism hasn't worked anywhere is because of us. What about Venezuela?
Well, what does work mean?
Like people could eat.
Venezuela was a fucking communist. Oh, pardon me.
You're big on the F word. Are you high? Do you smoke weed?
No, I don't. Actually.
Okay. All right, listen. I'm going to move on, but listen. You're not
Okay.
you're not really a communist. You know what you are?
I would beg to differ.
Yeah, you know what you are?
What's that?
You are a jealous person who's envious of people that have things that you don't. So you process that by this unfair economic system of capitalism, and you want to seize other people's hard work while you want to keep what you have yours and you don't share it.
I don't know. I mean, my fairly overpriced apartment is, and some of my nicer things, like.
No, if
I don't
no,
really want a whole
no,
lot
you
more
don't
than
you don't
that.
share your things with anyone. You've got nothing. You live in a little apartment by
Well-
yourself, and you're jealous of people that have nice things, and you think that the world should be equalized so you can have what they have. That's
Well,
you're not really
I
a communist. You're just an envious, jealous person who's got a lot of psychological issues.
I really hard disagree with that. I think that's really
you know what?
quite-
Think about it tonight when you're all alone in your little apartment.
Okay.
All right, take care, man.
I mean-
oh my goodness. Thanks for the call. Oh. Yeah, I mean, you agree with my analysis of that, of him, that he's not really a communist. He's just a bitter, jealous loser who's envious of people that have things. You know, when you're young, you know, when I was young, a lot of guys, when you're young, you don't, your brain, you know, he's in his 30s, he says, so his brain's done growing and developing. But when you're young, you don't see the world clearly, and you know what I mean, and you don't, and you got a lot of issues with a lot of people. Now I don't, you know. There's people that have a lot more than me. There's people that have a lot less than me. There's people that have what I have. I don't think about that. I don't even, you know, I've got some quirks, and if you watch me long enough, you may have picked up on them. But one quirk I don't have is what that guy has: envy, jealousy. I just, you know, I almost feel kind of bad for that guy, but he needs somebody to tell him the way of the world. All right, now we're going to take a quick break. If you'd like to call in, all opinions are welcome. Somebody had taken issue that Woodrow Wilson was not in the Ku Klux Klan. No, he was. And I've got some proof of that I'll tell you after the break. Okay, let me take the break, and then I'll tell you about that. Then I'll get into the new issues, all right? My name's Brian. This is, of course, the Brian Craig Show podcast. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Are you looking for a smarter way to care for your skin and your hair? You can do just that with Valaya AI. Valaya AI is your personal AI wellness coach. With just a quick scan from your phone, Valaya AI analyzes your skin and hair in seconds, providing personalized recommendations for acne, hydration, wrinkles, pigmentation, dryness, hair health, and that's just the beginning. Using advanced artificial intelligence, Valaya AI creates customized morning and evening routines, recommends products tailored to your needs, and even adjusts your care based on the weather, UV index, and seasonal conditions. What are you waiting for? Download Valaya AI right now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store and discover a smarter, more personalized approach to skin and hair care. Learn more and see how Valaya works online at mytach.ca. That's mytach.ca. Valaya AI, healthy skin and hair powered by artificial intelligence. On the line is Jamie Levack from Swift Tax. You know, Jamie, a lot of people haven't filed their taxes in years and years, and every time the mailman comes by,
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so somebody in the chat was taking issue that I said that Woodrow Wilson was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. No, it's true. In fact, all the Democrats of that period were. And when he was president, the first movie, the first full-length feature film ever shown in the White House was shown in the White House when Woodrow Wilson was president. Do you know what movie it was? It had a different title then than it does today. The title's been changed. You ever heard of The Birth of a Nation? The Birth of a Nation? Its original title was The Klansman, which is what it was. And they showed that movie in the White House. Woodrow Wilson, after he saw The Birth of a Nation and screened it in the White House, he said to the press, he says, "This is the most important movie that's ever been made. It tells a story that had to be told that has never been told before." And it's a movie about the heroic Ku Klux Klansmen saving Southerners. The Birth of a Nation. Look it up. And so, yeah, Woodrow Wilson as Harry Truman were both in the Ku Klux Klan, just so you know. Democrats all. Okay, I wanted to share this with you. Let me pull this up here. Let me pull this up. This thing with Canada is really starting to get hot. In Canada, they're really out of their league. They're messing with us, and they're messing with Trump. Yeah, I mean, and look at CNN, right? They defend Iran. Now they're defending Canada against us. If ever there's any country that opposes the United States, why is it that CNN and the left are always out there to defend the country that the United States is going up against? Iran, Canada, whatever country we're going up against at that particular time, they're in favor of. I don't get it. And they just, they don't even see it. They don't see it at all. And, Marco Rubio and President Trump, let me tell you, Marco Rubio and President Trump, what they have done internationally, they're never going to get credit for. Liberals write all the history books, right? They're written by liberal college professors, unfortunately. So, that's why people don't know that Woodrow Wilson and Truman were in the Ku Klux Klan, right? Because liberal Democrats write the history books. And they're certainly not going to write history books praising Marco Rubio and President Trump. But they have done things that you would never have even considered because it seems so impossible. Marco Rubio today has removed Syria from the state-sponsored terror list of the United States. And he made the announcement. Let me see. Is this the announcement? Okay, no, that's Trump meeting with the Syrian leader. But the statement from Marco is, today I formally rescinded Syria's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. This action unlocks new potential for Syria's economic revitalization and progress. President Trump did this. Syria, all these problems that we're going through with Iran. And of course, liberals think like losers, right? Oh, it can't be done. We can never win them over. They're fanatic. What do you think Syria has been? Syria, there's certain places that Americans are terrified of. The place that Americans are most terrified about is Iran always, right? Americans have been terrified of Iranians. We don't have anything to do with Iranians. Number two has been Syria, right? Syria. And Syria, and I know that the past of the current leader of Syria that is wised up and all that. But Syria was run by the Ba'athist, which was the same political party of Saddam Hussein, right? Saddam Hussein and Iraq and Syria were allies, and they were the same political movement, the Ba'athist movement. And it was a very scary place, a very scary country. No one ever dreamed that we would be friends with Syria. It didn't even seem like it was possible because they were religious fanatics and dictators. And now they're no longer even on the state-sponsored terror list. And their leadership are friends with our president and our Secretary of State and our country. If it could happen, think about it. We're in a world today where Iraq and Syria are allied with the United States against Iran. Who would have thought any of this was possible, right? Iraq and Syria have a long history of being enemies of the United States, and both of them are working with us to stop Iran and to collapse Iran. Think about that. It's crazy to even get your mind around the idea that that's the way things are happening right now. And it's all because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his success is a couple reasons. He's been famous, so he's a famous person, and he always has been. But he understands what all of these countries' leaders want and what all these countries want. And you know what it is? Money. They want to be rich. That's it. And he speaks their language. And what's been going on in the Middle East, there's been a lot of poverty over there in some of these countries like Syria and in Gaza that's going to get rebuilt and all of that. And they don't want to live that way. What we have found in the year and a half that Trump has been in his second term is that most people in the Middle East, they really don't like all these terrorists that are going around blowing things up and people up and hijacking this and flying in on ultralights and music festivals and doing terrible, barbaric things. Most people in the Middle East don't want to live that way, right? And given the opportunity, they turn over a new leaf. And what President Trump has done in the Middle East is amazing. Every president in my entire life has been involved in some Mideast peace process. And mainly what those have been is much like Obama, right? When he sent those pallets of money on the planes to Iran, they've been, only thing that presidents have done is try to pacify the troublemakers, the terrorists in the Middle East. And President Trump has put together a new alliance in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords and with the Gaza Board of Peace and all of that. A modern day NATO. NATO in its day was important. The Soviet Union, and the Iron Curtain and all that business. There was a time that NATO was relevant and important. They're a hindrance now and unimportant today, but they used to be where the problems were, and they took care of things. Well, President Trump has put together a kind of like a NATO of the Middle East with the Board of Peace and the Abraham Accords. And we're now allied and working in a major military operation against Iran with countries that not that long ago were fighting with Iran against us. It's almost like we're in bizarro world. If you were in a coma for 20 years and woke up, you wouldn't even believe this was real. This is like out of some science fiction movie in the future where we're living now. And it's all because of President Trump. It's much like Canada, okay, what I was talking about with this Canada tariff war that's going on right now. The American people and the Canadian people love each other. We have no problem with the Canadian people. They've got lunatics in the government. The government of Canada are tyrants. They're dictators, like Assad used to be in Syria, okay? Since we're talking about Syria, right? And the people of these countries in the Middle East, they really don't have too much of a beef with us. And I think some of the liberals in this country hate Israel more than a lot of those Muslims do over there in the Middle East, too, if you listen to the way they talk all the time. And what Marco Rubio and Donald Trump have done in regards to Middle East peace is so off the scales of anything that's ever been accomplished before. It's no longer a place of war. And Iran, there really is not a combat operation going on against Iran. We have our fleet over there, and we're keeping them under control, but there's not an ongoing military campaign. There'll be rocket launches and bombings here and there sporadically for many years to come, probably. But the combat operation is over. We've got Iran in check, and these other countries like Syria. The president met with the president of Iraq a couple years ago, which is on the western border of Iran, to firm up things there. He met with the leader of Turkey, who's on their eastern border of Iran. They've got Iran under control over there. And now Syria, which is a longtime ally of Iran, is now with us. And they don't want to be on the state list of terrorist nations because they want to be a part of the world economy, Syria. That's why they're working with us. That's why I said Trump understands that what these people care about is money. Now, if you'd like to support all my content, really, everything I bring you, my YouTube channel, my radio show, my podcast, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description of this episode and every episode. And if you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to a lot of exclusive content, including my Patreon-only live streams, which I do very regularly, many, many times every week, almost every day. And on the Patreon live streams, we've got a great community and a great chat. It is a troll-free zone, no liberals allowed. It's a good group of people. And if you become a Patreon supporter, it starts at just $5 a month, and you have access to the live chat and the other content there. It's a great community where we talk about a lot of things that I don't talk about here or anywhere, and things that I cannot talk about here or anywhere else. And I probably reveal way too much to you guys on Patreon, but I reveal a lot of the behind the scenes that are going on the program, in my life, as well as talking about topics and issues that are too hot for here or even the radio. Okay, so become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description. And you get access to all that. Now, remember, it's only for paying Patreon supporters. If you become a free member, you do not have access to any of the content. And again, it starts at just $5 a month. If you become a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen on YouTube, and you get a live, on-air thank you shout out on every episode. So the names you will hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, Rick, Michael, and Robert R. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And again, the link to my Patreon page is in the description. All right. Oh, look at this. Some breaking news here. Look at this. Huge number of illegal immigrants arrested in massive capital region sweep. Oh, let's see. This just happened. Fox News. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement quietly arrested more than one... Hold on a second. Okay, I was skeptical too. Okay, go ahead. She's conservative, so we'll let her talk. Let's see. ICE quietly arrested more than 1,000 illegal immigrants in the Washington, D.C. region in what federal sources said was one of the agency's most successful operations to date. All right. Multiple ICE sources told Fox News they arrested 1,328 illegal immigrants. By the way, that's 1,328 new jobs created over 14 days in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. The arrest took place in Virginia and Maryland, both of which have sanctuary-type policies in place. Of those arrested, almost 400 had criminal convictions or pending criminal charges, including a Salvadorian national wanted in Richmond, Virginia, on a murder warrant. Oh. Other crimes included rape, sexual assault, kidnapping, DUI, robbery, and attempted murder. Oh, yeah, Rhodes Scholars all. ICE officers arrested members of MS-13, Trinde de Agua, and the 18th Street Gang. All right, so things are going well. That's right. Good for them. There they go. Putting them in the car. These guys are tough, ICE. I wouldn't mess with these guys. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's me again, Brian Wilson.
Wilson, it's one call per show, Wilson. All right, one call per show. Now listen, the rest of you on hold, hang in there. You know why? Because I'm going to be here tomorrow morning, bright and early, before the sun comes up, right? So if you're new, welcome. Make sure that you subscribe, and everyone, please like the video. When you guys like the video on YouTube, it gets it recommended to people that have not yet found the channel. That helps a lot. If you're listening on one of the audio podcast platforms, make sure you follow and subscribe, okay? That has the same effect as liking on YouTube and is greatly appreciated. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Take care.